Today we are at the Kalkara Naval Cemetery to commemorate Remembrance Day and Armistice Day. Remembrance Day is commemorated on the second Sunday of November, whereas today, the 11th of November, we commemorate Armistice Day. The annual occurrence takes place on the 11th of November, as it was on this day in 1918 that the belligerents agreed to stop fighting. It was the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month that all fell quiet on the Western Front. This cemetery is managed by the Commonwealth War Graves Commission. This commission was established in 1917 during the First World War to mark, record and maintain the graves of Commonwealth soldiers. Today the Commonwealth War Graves Commission is responsible for graves and monuments over 23,000 separate burial sites and the maintenance of more than 200 memorials in over 150 countries and territories worldwide. In these burial sites there are buried more than 1,700,000 persons. On the Maltese Islands, the Commonwealth War Graves Commission is responsible for almost 6,000 graves in both military and civilian cemeteries. Today's ceremony is organized by the Royal Navy Officers Association Malta branch and is taking place next to the cross called the Cross of Sacrifice. This cemetery was established at the beginning of the 20th century and it catered for both Catholics and Protestants servicemen employed by the British. During the First World War, 351 persons from various countries were buried in this cemetery. During the war, soldiers and sailors from Allied countries such as France and even Japanese sailors stationed in the Mediterranean were buried in this cemetery. During the First World War, one of the most prominent persons who was buried in this cemetery was Ernest Wild, a sailor who explored the Antarctic between 1914 and 1917. Later he served on the HMS Biarritz when he caught typhus. He was hospitalized at the Naval Hospital at Vigy, where he died, and was buried in this cemetery. Posthumously he was awarded the Albert Medal for his efforts to save the lives of Mackintosh and Spencer Smith in the Antarctic. During the Second World War, 694 persons were buried in this cemetery. Amongst these people, we find soldiers who were awarded the George Cross for their acts of the greatest heroism or most conspicuous courage in circumstances of extreme danger. Amongst these men we find William Ewart Hiscock, an officer of the Royal Navy, awarded the George Cross for his successful attempt to defuse a novel Italian torpedo machine. Matt Osborne, a firefighter from the Royal Air Force, is also buried here. He was awarded the George Cross posthumously for his work as firefighter. He was killed on the line of duty while showing fearless courage and great leadership while attempting to defuse a torpedo from a burning aircraft. John Nell Dowland, wing commander of the Royal Air Force, was awarded the George Cross at the beginning of the war for defusing a bomb that had fallen on the grain ship SS Kildare in England. He died when he attempted an emergency landing at Lucca and was buried in the Kalkara Naval Cemetery. In the cemetery there are buried Polish pilots who served in the Royal Air Force and even an Italian pilot whose identity is unknown. With this last scene, we close this short documentary about Remembrance Day and Armistice Day from the Kalkara Naval Cemetery. We encourage you to use your Heritage Malta passports to explore the National War Museum at Fort St. Elmo to discover more about the First World War and Second World War.